Welcome to the Nonprofit Exchange. Stories by leaders for leaders.
Welcome to the
to help you to raise the bar
Exchange.
on
This
your
is
own
Hugh
performance and to
founder and
release
president
the
of
potential
Center
inside
Vision
of you.
Leadership Foundation.
Now, here's
where
today's
we build
episode.
synergy as leaders around a common vision. We are purposeful leaders. We are driven by impacting people's lives. Our subtitle in Center Vision Leadership Foundation is Transforming Leaders, Transforming Organizations, Transforming Lives. And I have a very special friend today and a very capable leader. We're going to dig deeper into some experience of 7.5 decades of leadership. So Bishop Warner Brown is a new friend, but we resonate in so many areas. And we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about today, Bishop Brown? And then talk about yourself. Who are you and what's your passion for this?
Hi, Hugh, and hi, David. Delighted to be with you today. Well, I'm Warner Brown, just a little kid that grew up in Baltimore, a place that is not often thought of as a place for leadership. But beginning where I began to respond to the call on my life to make a difference in the world. And I've been doing that in various ways through ministry and other things. But in the process, I discovered leadership is a gift that all of us are given that gives us the power to recognize what's valuable to us, the gifts we have, and how we can make a difference in the world. Whether that is working with your kids' school or running a multi-million-dollar business or everything in between, we all have gifts for leadership. We recognize some of them, but often we don't recognize how many gifts we have, how to use them, or how we overcome the blind spots that will cause us to miss some important things. So that's a little bit about who I am. I'm a kid that felt I was called to do something, and I've been leading since I was a little kid. As a teenager, working with some other kids, we began in an entrepreneurial way to organize programs that would serve the teenagers that we were growing up with. And in a time where our country was often divided and kids weren't expected to do anything. And we were the first group of Black kids that went downtown to Baltimore, organized at a major hotel, a big event, and pulled it off and became the hit of our town at a major hotel, sponsoring an event for teenagers. And at that day, you could get big name stars who came by the radio stations to come and be a part of your programs. And so we had big name celebrities. We had a great program. And that inspired me to know that if you show up as your best self, you can align with other people, and together there is almost nothing you can't pull off because you have the capacity to lead. Since discovering that, I built a career in ministry, and it's my desire to give back. I have gotten to where I am because people who were leaders took time to mentor me, to coach me, and through learning from them, I've been able to build effective teams. And effective teams have helped me realize it's not about me, but working together with people and aligning our gifts. There's nothing we can't do well. Hope that gives you a little insight to me, Hugh.
Wow, that's profound. So you chose a title for this. Tell us what that is and why you chose that title.
Well, I chose the title, Unleash Your Leadership Superpowers. Many people undersell their ability to lead. When we go into a new leadership position, it's natural for us to be afraid, fear we're going to fail, fear that people are going to look at us and say, oh, this clown is a fraud. He doesn't know everything he says he knows. He can't do what he says he can do. And we undersell ourselves. But to discover we have gifts. it's important we dig down to know what our gifts are, have the accountability to ourselves to develop our gifts, and to recognize also what are gifts that you can evolve. They may not be your strongest gift, but you have some talents and you can evolve those gifts to respond to what is needed for the situation you're in. All of us have that in us, but often we haven't dug deep to discover it and found the courage to use it. That is the superpower that we have. In working with leaders, I've discovered they're basically about 12 character strengths that draw us and give us the ability to lead in almost any situation. Most of us recognize that 2 or 3 or 4 of those are natural strengths, and we use them all the time. In fact, sometimes we overuse them. But when we discover that all of those strengths are available to us, and if not to us, to people that are on our team, and if we recognize that this person or that person is good at this, and draw on them to help rather than seeing them as a threat to us being the big person on the top of the leadership pile, we become stronger in our ability to lead.
Whoa. We talked about terms a little bit. David's chomping the bit with a couple of questions, but before he does that, in my experience, I've been doing this coaching, training, strategy work for 35 years. I served larger churches, and people would hire me to come work with their boards because they thought I was an expert. I had this big job. So part of it, I studied leadership, I studied coaching, I studied facilitation. It's where you really learn is out there in the field. Because if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. So I ought to be a profound expert because I haven't made the mistakes, but not everybody can do that. Not everybody has that opportunity. So we've used the word leadership like everybody has the same definition. How do you define leadership?
I define leadership as understanding and taking responsibility for the vision that you have in your heart, the passion that is within you to make a difference in the world, the facts on the ground that you see around you that are shaping the world, and the action that you hope will make a difference. Leadership is aligning all 4 of those directions and having the courage to put them into action. When you do that, you're giving leadership.
David, I think
that is profound, sir. Thank you for that. And that leads me to a question that I'd like to pose to you. And basically what you've said is that there are leaders in corporations, and there are leaders in the clergy, and there are leaders in community development and the nonprofit world that are servants and leaders and transformative leaders. How does, in your mind, it benefit for that corporation leader to lean in and support communities, knowing that it's more than just about the profit and loss statement, it's about impact? What would you do? What would you say to that corporation leader as to why it's important for them to see that all 4 of those elements that you just described? Could you do that?
Surely.
Great.
I've been blessed to work with and serve on boards of directors with corporate leaders and work with them in various ways, and the employees that work for them. And one of the things I've consistently found, more important than whatever title person is able to hang on their door, and even at least just as important as the paycheck that allows them to pay the bills and feed their family, is the sense that they are doing something that is worth their time, that is worth their investment of themselves, and they can see a difference being made, and they're doing something that matters. And so that shows up when people come and volunteer their time, whether it's feeding the hungry or rescuing refugees that have gotten themselves stranded in the desert, or whether it's intervening in places where people are hurting in all kinds of ways. Disaster response is one of those big ways that people make the connection with other human beings and see beyond whatever stereotypes they have in their head and discover there is a person created by the creator of the universe that has value and worth. And there is a connection you can make with that person. And in the process, both of you can come out better people.
Whoa, win-win. How about that
Yes.
scenario?
And when leaders see that among their team, it empowers their team members, their direct reports, to discover in themselves the compassion they may have been silencing because they thought it was important to be a quote boss and look tough. And they discover that their human side is even more important a superpower than whatever they think they know. Because the secret we all have to learn is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Amen. I'm just, we're approaching 400. I think we're 395 episodes, and we've never had one like this, David. So this is really rich. If you're watching this on a video, this is The Nonprofit Exchange. As you see, you can find us at thenonprofitexchange.org, thenonprofitexchange.org. And it's a podcast anywhere you get podcasts. But if you go to that link, you'll find the video and the transcript. So all of those nuggets that you heard, you can go find them and learn them and implement them. Because we take notes at events, Bishop Brown, but we don't really take it the next step. So there's some blind spots we have that cause us well, we actually, as leaders, sometimes set up problems because of our blind spots. So talk about blind spots in a minute. And you talked about working together. So the big word for that is another word I don't think people understand is collaboration. So blind spots, and that's two different questions, but they're related, I think.
Well, one of the ways I found helpful to think about this, and this comes out of some of the work I've done studying and working with people that are experts in mind science and some of the learnings that have come out of that. And I've discovered these new learnings work very well for people of faith. They align the strengths that have been discovered, whether in business or the education world, with what we're discovering in the nonprofit world and the church world, to come together to put our strengths forward. So one of the things that comes out of that is that each of us have our preferred thinking and feeling styles. And they line up that sort of predispose us to have some strengths in particular areas. So for example, if I'm somebody that's passionate about people and am really driven by inspiring ideas in the spiritual side of things, that drives my ability to be very compassionate to people and to build trust. It also builds in me a resilience that I can stand tall in difficult situations, and that's a strength. The flip side of that, though, is paying attention to the data, the facts on the ground, paying attention to what is necessary for systems and organization and those kinds of things to drive things to success. That's not necessarily my strength. And for some people who have that entrepreneurial gene that knows how to take inspiring ideas and put them into action, that's their strength. But the person that's on the other side of that, who cares about, well, have you filled in the paperwork the government requires? And have you paid attention to what the people really want, not just your great idea? What happens with the blind spots is, for the entrepreneur, paying attention to the paperwork and the government regulations and what people really want may be their blind spot. And having somebody who brings that other side of thing that can come alongside and be an ally and help us show up as our best self, as opposed to seeing that person that keeps asking uncomfortable questions as a threat. And rather than fighting back and trying to silence them, listen to what they have to say, because they might be right. And together, you can have a much stronger organization. Most of us, with our human egos, don't do that naturally. And it's a learned skill. And I've discovered coaching can help us learn that skill. I had to discover it. When I became a bishop and moved into higher leadership, my first natural reaction is, oh, they recognize how smart I am. They've given me authority. I had to learn to get myself out of the way. It's not about me. If I want to show up as a jerk, I can make it about me. But if I want to make a difference, I've got to make it about the people we serve and the people who are going to help me pull it off. Because when they discover I'm somebody that they can trust, that cares about them, that will listen with compassion, that will be sensitive to their problems, they are more willing and ready to work with me. And when they do, they are going to make sure I don't fail. So if I've ever succeeded at anything, it's not because I'm so great or so smart. It's because the people around me have lifted me up so I didn't fail. And the spiritual power that I believe in, I'm a man of faith, the spiritual power I believe in has set a foundation that we can all thrive in that environment.
That is, in fact, our superpower, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's it.
So David, he used the word multiple times that I think is a real deficit. He used the word listening. What do you think of that?
Well, that's so true. I have been listening, and a couple of things resonate with me in my own shortcomings over the course of my career in that, and you mentioned, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to phrase something about when our egos are in charge, that's when we fail. And we think, oh, we're so, as you said, when you first became a bishop, oh, they recognized how smart I am. Well, what they probably recognized is your humility and the ability to work through others. And listening, like you said, and Hugh, he's used that word a few times too, is listening to what people have to say and listen to that voice also that is guiding you, that oftentimes that ego that we carry around with us prevents us from hearing. So Hugh, you hit it right on the head. That word listening is profound. And another word that came out in our discussion that I wanted to draw a point to is the word love. And we love each other and we love the work that we're doing. And there's an author named Steve Farber who wrote a book. It's called Love in Business Love is Just Damn Good Business.
Yes.
Having love in the business will make the ego stay in check and build others up so that they can build you up too. So I appreciate this. This is a profound episode today, Hugh. Thank you so much. And thank you, Bishop, for everything that you've shared so far. But we still have time. What other nuggets can we share? Hugh, have you got something?
Well,
I see you're formulating it.
I want to set up the next thing. So leaders are influencers. And, I spent a career in church music ministry, and you got a little white stick, you hire a union orchestra, you got a couple hundred singers there. You got a white stick, you can't make them do anything, but you can influence them. So I think there's some misconceptions. So we serve each other. In our leadership style that we embrace is transformational leadership. It's in the same section as servant leadership. But the transformational leader is the cheerleader because people need the inspiration. But you hit it so strongly. It's about the vision. So understanding the vision and leading the vision. So what's behind this insecurity as people of faith? We know that it's in God's strength that we perform. So how do people deal with our insecurities? Because you said that your team makes sure you don't fail, but as a reciprocity, because you're making sure that they don't fail. Is that, am I phrasing that right?
Very much so, very much so. One of the keys to this is really consciously working on yourself. Leading requires you to lead yourself first, and developing in yourself what is required for you to show up as your best. Unless you're able to be honest with yourself, and in that honesty and say, yeah, I screwed that up. I don't know how to do this. And all of those kinds of ways of being honest. And then instead of trying to hide that by saying, I won't let them know because they'll think I'm a fraud. No, you're not a fraud. You're human. And the key is for you, vulnerabilities and all, to honestly show the people you're working with you care about their success. You're going to throw yourself in with them and work together to accomplish the goals that are important to all of you. And in the process, you'll do the stuff that matters. That's at the key. And where the ego comes in is the fear. We remember all the times we failed at something, the flash of the little kids at school teasing us because we did something dumb and they wouldn't let us forget it. The ghost of those memories sometimes haunt us. And yes, it's scary, but leaders find the courage to do the right thing anyway.
So we're coming to the near of this. Amazing. We can listen to you all day, but unfortunately we have a time slot. So we have emerging leaders that are listening to us. We have potential leaders. Somebody believed in me when I was nothing but potential. And we have seasoned leaders. So when do you get to the point where you don't study leadership and you got it and you just go with it?
Well, I think the key elements of that is, first of all, two principles I learned from some of my senior mentors. My grandmother told me as I was a young kid and becoming an adult and having a leadership responsibility, she says, boy, remember, you can't make grown folk mine. You have to win their commitment. And the other thing that went hand in hand to that, in the first church, I was a pastor and fresh out of graduate school and put in this place where I'm supposed to lead this church with people that I didn't know and to organize community projects to serve this community of 5,000 residents with service projects. My mentor said, the most important thing you can do is love the people. Love the people. And the second most important thing you can do is decide who you believe you can trust, and then trust them with your fears, your concerns, what you want to learn about this community, and let them partner with you.
Whoa.
When you can embody that in your core, and that speaks louder than your fears, your character will guide you in leadership.
That means paying attention.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a chance to do the last word and give people a closing thought or challenge. But before that, you've mentioned several times having a mentor, having a coach. And I think let's add to that, having high quality, high functioning people around you. So we sort of behave like the people we hang around. So how are those factors important, and especially the mentor part of the coach part?
That's key for taking the blinders off of your eyes. I experienced that. Having that person I can trust to listen with my interests at heart and to tell me the truth, to answer my questions without me needing to feel self-conscious, to allow me to think through what are the ways to get what I think is important, and what are the ways I can do a better job in enlisting the help of others, and have an experienced voice to walk that walk with me. That's the role a coach played for me, and caused me to make a commitment to being a coach and mentor for others in my fourth quarter career. So that moved me into the role of being an executive leadership coach.
Wow. So you're pulling from some knowledge of many years. And we, as senior leaders in terms of years who've been active a long time, bring unique value propositions, unique skills, and unique perspective to the workforce. That is so key. Before you do your closing thought, I want to tell people this is, we're in the middle of May 2024. You might be listening to this in a future year. So Bishop Brown doesn't have his website up yet, but he will. He's transitioning from being a bishop in retirement. He went back to work because they needed his skills, but he's transitioning to be a support for leaders everywhere. So when you come back on the page for the podcast, or the page on our website for the podcast, we will have his website when it's ready. We want you to also realize that we have a private community for nonprofit leaders and clergy and faith leaders and community organizations. It's called nonprofitcommunity.org, nonprofitcommunity.org, where you connect with like-minded people and share the challenges and share the joys and share wisdom with one another. We miss that as we're working in the trenches. We miss that camaraderie of like-minded people. This has been a wonderful session, and remind you on thenonprofitexchange.org, you can find the transcript for today's episode of the Nonprofit Exchange. So Bishop Brown, what do you want to leave people with today?
I would want to say the most impactful way you can influence the world with your aspirations and your dreams is to lead yourself, to show up as your best self, flaws and all, and do that. And then engage other people, listening to them and offering to partner with them. Together, if you align your thoughts and your aspirations to agilely respond to the opportunities that avail themselves to you, and then develop leaders everywhere you can, you will be a part of making the difference in the world. If I can help, and if Hugh can help, we are people who would love to come alongside and be that voice in your ear to help you discover that for yourself.
That's your call to action. That's our call to action. Bishop Warner Brown, thank you so much for being our guest today on the Nonprofit Exchange.
Thank you both. Be blessed.
Thank you for watching the Nonprofit Exchange.